So after starting the season 7-2, the Washington Commanders are currently on a 3-game losing streak. And everyone is panicking. Everyone wants to know what is going on with this team. More specifically, the offense and what has happened to this once high-powered offense. It's time to talk about Kliff Kingsbury and maybe what these people that were fans of other teams that had Kliff Kingsbury services before tried to tell us was right. Let's talk about it. YouTube, what's going on? It's Juan Gotti here. We on the Washington Commanders video, and in today's video, I'm coming on here with the video where we're going to be talking about maybe, just maybe, what the people that were Kliff Kingsbury team led before has said about him was possibly true. So without further ado, let's get straight into today's video. For we to make sure you guys go down below, leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel if you are new, turn on post notifications so you get notified when I upload new videos like this to the channel. We're on the road to 8,000 subscribers, so it'd be greatly appreciated if you help me reach that goal as soon as possible. Thank you so much. Let's get straight into today's video. So, Washington, Kliff Kingsbury. What the hell happened to this offense? I cannot put a finger on it. I really can't. I feel as though there is a lot of things going on with this unit and just this team. I think what a lot of people that were saying in the offseason, oh, Kliff Kingsbury tends to change, or his offense tends to get figured out after the bye week or after midpoint way of the season. He gets figured out and he doesn't adjust. I think we're starting to see that. And I think we're really starting to see how generic and stale this offense really is. I remember I had a couple people try to tell me that in the offseason, and I'm a person, when a player or coach comes to my team, I try to tune out what the previous teams that they've coached for or played for try to say about him, because I just always hope, okay, maybe when he comes to Washington, it's going to be different, okay? But at a point in time, you have to start looking at people's track records, okay? The people have resumes, people have track records, people have histories for a reason. And we as fans and as players sometimes, or excuse me, the players sometimes, or coaches sometimes, or GMs when they're going out to get these players, we tend to try to look away from that because we're like, okay, maybe we can fix them. Maybe this is a stop where they figure it out. And for Kliff Kingsbury in the early parts of the season, that's where it started to look like. It started to look like, okay, maybe that stop at USC was good for Kliff Kingsbury. Maybe he learned a lot from, Lincoln Riley and coaching Caleb Williams, stuff like that. Maybe he is ready to step up back to the NFL game. Who knows? That's what it was looking like early on. Okay, and then now we're here at the halfway part of the season, and the offense has not clicked the same. But again, this is something that they tried to warn us about, and I was just being ignorant about it. I was just ignoring it, ignoring the facts. But let me go ahead and read you what this stats says about Kliff Kingsbury, and it's most likely going to be the artwork and thumbnail for this video. Kliff Kingsbury, August through October, he's 56, 36, and 1 as a win-loss record. In November and January, he's 18 and 45. Points per game, he's 34 to 6. And in November, January, he's 25.8. Point differential in August through October is plus 442. And November through January is minus 379. Total yards per game is 470. And in November through January is 392.1. Kliff Kingsbury has a history of not showing up in the second half of seasons, and I'm really starting to see it. At first I was trying to defend Kliff, and I was trying to make all these, okay, it's the players. They aren't getting open. Jaden Daniels isn't playing the best. He's not seeing the field, which is true. Okay, which is true, but it starts, in my opinion, with the coaching staff. Similar to how a lot of you all felt like Dan Quinn should have went for 2, given the fact that Washington had an opportunity to beat the Dallas Cowboys, and he didn't do that. That starts with coaching. Yeah, the players didn't execute. Yeah, Austin Cyber missed the field goal, missed the PAT. Well, if Dan Quinn would have made the decision to go for 2, we wouldn't have been in that spot. We would either won or lost, and it starts with coaching. Same here with the offense, okay? You have your times where the plays have been drawn up to perfection and the players just hasn't executed. But when you, and this is when it starts with coaching, when you have a wide receiver as Terry McLaurin caliber and he is not being involved in an offense, then you have a legit problem, okay? It is no longer on the players. Terry McLaurin is not being involved in this offense enough. This offense is not being creative enough. I don't know what happened to this offense. Early on in the season, we were doing trick plays. We were doing Brian Robinson out of the Wildcat. We were doing motions. We were doing quick slants, drags, double motions, have Austin Eckler running out to the right, then throwing it back to the left on the screen. Like, we were being so creative early on, and I just don't know what happened to it, because you can easily say a team has figured it out if we kept running it and it got stopped. That's easy to go with. Okay, you're like, all right, you tried to run the screen to the left, throw it back to the right. We've seen that on tape plenty of times this season, so we stopping that this time. That's understandable. But Kliff isn't even doing that on a consistent basis. So it's like the whole offense has just changed. It's like Kliff Kingsbury went from Kliff Kingsbury to Eric Bieniemy, because you remember Eric Bieniemy's biggest problem, he didn't care about stats. He didn't care about getting the best players involved. It was his scheme. And that's what it's feeling like over here, right? Because why your scheme is you want to have your wide receivers line up on the outside. So Terry McLaurin only spot is the left side of the field. He don't move nowhere. He doesn't motion inside the slot. He doesn't motion over to the right. He doesn't do anything. And the minimum times that he's done that it has caused defenses to be confused and eye candy, and it created some open space and opportunities for your offense. But when you're stale, when I know what you're going to do, when I know every single play, all Terry McLaurin's going to do is run out to the left, and all Jaden Daniels going to do is get out of the gun. When I know that is the play, and we've seen it on tape so many times, where obviously a defense is going to get used to, because you're not causing anything different. You're not causing any kind of confusion. You know what I would love to see? I would love for us to get under center. I would love for us to do some play action, set up the run for play action, quick passes on the underneath routes, slants, drag screens, in routes, hitches to get the 4 or 5 yard gains. So then that opens up the deep ball opportunities for Jaden Daniels to connect with a Terry McLaurin down the field or De'Ami Brown down the field. Like, you have those opportunities that we were doing early on. That's why I really can't put my finger on it. You can say teams have adjusted to us, but we're not even running the offense that we ran early on. Maybe I'm tripping, but I can remember vividly early on in the season, Terry McLaurin's route tree wasn't always just, hey, Terry, go run a 9 route. Go run a 15-yard post. Hey, Noah Brown, go run a 25-yard comeback. Like, those were occasionally in there. But I'm telling you, those were not the go-to play calls. And Dan Orlovsky was just on ESPN yesterday prior to the game between the Baltimore Ravens and the Los Angeles Chargers. And he said a lot that I agree with about Kliff Kingsbury and this offense and why it's struggling. He says stuff along the lines of, you're not getting the ball in the hands of your best playmaker in Terry McLaurin. Soon as the ball is snapped, Noah Brown is the first read. Why is that? I came to the conclusion that it's because you're lining up Terry McLaurin on the left when your quarterback is predominantly right, and not saying he cannot throw the ball across his body to the left, but he's more comfortable throwing to the right side because he's right-handed. So, as an offensive coordinator, why not do that? Why not put my best receiver on the right side of the field to make my quarterback more comfortable? Bingo! I just thought about it live on air. Look at that Terry McLaurin touchdown pass versus the Cincinnati Bengals, game winner. Where was Terry McLaurin at on that play? He was on the right side. Why was that ball so accurate? Jaden Daniels is right-handed. Look at that rollout to the right versus the Cleveland Browns, and he avoided the sack, and he threw that dart to Terry McLaurin in stride. Going to the right. Look at that De'Ami Brown pass before had that same game that we scored a touchdown on. Why was that pass so accurate? He was throwing to his right. He's at his best when he's working to the dominant side, and it's not just him. That's any quarterback in the NFL. Yes, Josh Allen can make any throw in the book. He's more comfortable throwing to his right, I guarantee. Patrick Mahomes can make any throw across the field, but he's more comfortable throwing to his right. Jaden Daniels, same thing. So if you know that, if you should know your personnel and know how he is, do what is best for your players' strong suits. You feel as though Brian Robinson is a big part of this offense, and I feel like he is. And people were calling me crazy early on in the season when I said, look at the games where he's missed and how we perform versus the games of how we played when Brian Robinson was there. For whatever reason, Kliff Kingsbury seems to know how to call a game when he has Brian Robinson in the backfield. But the second he loses Brian Robinson, we forget how to run the ball. We lose a physicality that was there because of him. We lose a lot without Brian Robinson. So it just seems like, for whatever reason, Kliff feels like he has to run this offense through him, which doesn't have to be the case. You got to run your offense through your best players. Terry McLaurin, Jaden Daniels, okay? Those are your players you need to run this offense through. We need to get back to the basics. But we have to find out what the basics really is, because clearly we lost it. Clearly. And it's not just Kliff. It's not. We got John Bates fumbling the football in key moments. We got drop passes, Noah Brown. My thing is, though, that's the Kliff part about it, is why does Noah Brown get 10 targets a game and Terry McLaurin's only getting 6? They just put up a stat where Noah Brown is the most targeted wide receiver that's on the Washington Commanders in the last month. He's the guy that has been targeted the most in the last month. Terry McLaurin's only had 17 targets in the last month. So it goes Noah Brown 27. It's right here. Noah Brown 27. Zach Ertz 24. Austin Eckler 18 and Terry McLaurin 17. That should never be the case. Noah Brown should never be getting 24 targets, 27 targets in the last month, and you have Terry McLaurin below that. Okay, it's different if Noah Brown, and he wouldn't be getting as much if Terry was getting those targets, but it'd be different if Noah Brown was getting 27 targets and Terry McLaurin was still higher somehow. But he's on the last part of this list. 17, got the lowest targets out of all of us, all the players. Why is that? I don't care if Noah Brown seems more open to you. I'm taking my one-on-one chances with Terry McLaurin than I am with I think he's open Noah Brown. Because there's times where he's open and he dropped it. There's times where he's open and the cornerback is able to close in on it. And a lot of that is due to him and also the play caller. I feel as though Washington needs to simplify the game. And it is coming from a guy that early on in the season when I was complaining about us too simplifying the game for us. I was complaining about that. But if I would have known that this would have been the outcome of this, like I would have known that we would have changed from that and we would have been this stale, I wouldn't have complained one bit. Because when we shorted the game, when we were doing quick screens and slants and drags and getting the ball out of the hands of Jaden Daniels fast, fake screen left, back, right, when we were doing all that, we were moving down the field. We were scoring touchdowns. When Jaden Daniels' legs was a factor, really much, we were scoring. We were moving the ball down the field. So if that's what it takes, if we have to get back to that, that's fine. Because I do not like where we're at right now. I do not like it one bit. Because this team is 7-5. And yes, we're clinging on to that last wild card spot. But could you understand the disappointment that this season would be if Washington started the season 7-2 and somehow missed the playoffs? That would be very disappointing, even though this is quote-unquote a first-year rebuild. And you're not supposed to have any expectations. If you start the season off that hot that we did, and now your expectations have shifted, or now you're having expectation because of how we are played. If you miss the playoffs, there's no excuse for that. It'll be different if we're the typical Washington with Taylor Heineke, where we're fighting to stay alive, or we're four and so right now, but we get hot down the stretch, and we're looking at we're the AC, but looking at a chance to get the. If we were in that predicament, then it'd be different. But we just went from talking about a first round bye, talking about clinching the second seed, talking about hosting a playoff game, to now to the 7th seed and barely knowing if we're going to be able to make the playoffs. We looked at this Tennessee Titan. We looked at this stretch coming up a couple months ago as a cakewalk. Tennessee, New Orleans, Dallas, Like, we looked at this as a way to get right. And I get it's a division team, but they're so bad, and we lost to them. We effing lost to them. So, Kliff, I need you to get back right. And I'm not, let me dead this right now. I'm not with the fire Kliff. Kliff needs to be fired. That, y'all need to cut that out, okay? Nobody on this coaching staff needs to be fired. If Ron Rivera was given 4 years and Scott Turner was given what? 3.5. Why am I gonna fire Kliff and all that? 12 and a half games in. 11 and a half, 12 games in. Why? I got faith in this team. I felt like we built up enough equity, and I felt like we have enough wins on the schedule to get us in the playoffs. But if we continue to play with the way that we're playing, we could very well miss the playoffs. We very well could miss the playoffs after starting 7-2 if we keep playing the way that we're playing, because there's no team on this schedule that I can guarantee a win. Like, before this slump happened, I almost guaranteed us to win all these games, because I thought at some point we were going to get our head out of our behinds and get right. But this may just be who we are. Who knows? You lose to Dallas, that's one thing. That's a division game, understandably so. But you go out there and lose another home game in a row, second home game in a row, to the Tennessee Titans, we have a problem. A big, 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 big problem. So that's where I am right now. I'll be going live tonight on the channel at 8 p.m. Please tune in for that. And we'll talk a lot about this team, more about this, read your comments, talk about the team and its whole everything, and preview the Titans game as we try to get back on track. See y'all tonight at 8 p.m. As always, me and boy Juan Gotti. Like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. On the road to 8,000 subscribers. So we greatly appreciate it if you reach that goal as soon as possible. Thank you so much. See y'all later. I'm out. Peace.